poetic, and practical.
Intellectual stew.
Informative and inspirational. How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual stew with James. Intellectual.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? How are you all doing? Welcome to the Intellectual Stew. Once again, with yours truly. I am James Kirkland. I'm trying to get my guest in here. They're having technical difficulties tonight, but I'm going to help them. I know Ashley is already there, and I'll bring her on in just a second. But I'm trying to grab uh, my other special guest tonight. But I just sent it to you, Doc, if you're listening. But I am excited, super excited to do another show on tonight. And tonight we're going to break down communication between black men, well, men and women, not necessarily black men and black women, but typically, sometimes what's understood really just doesn't have to be explained. Ashley is doing her motherly duties tonight, so she's gonna be in and out. She'll be definitely communicating with us, but but she's not gonna have her face on the whole time. So hopefully, like I said, we can get our guest on in a moment. If not, you know what we're gonna do. The show is going to go on, uh, but he should be here in a moment because I wanted to get his perspective as well. Lady Karen is not going to be able to be with us tonight because she has something that she is doing personally. But let me go grab Ashley. Ashley, are you there? Ashley. Let me make sure you got two things. Let me see which one is the right one. Come on, y'all. We got to get this together tonight. Are you there, Ashley? Okay, she has muted herself. So, all right, cool. So I guess you know what? We're gonna do it the way it needs to be done. By ourselves if we have to. But trying to get my guest on tonight. But tonight I wanted to talk. Well, first of all, before I do that, I want to thank everyone who has been praying for my family. We lost our mother. I lost my mother on last Tuesday. And you all have been praying for me, and I wanted to do this show in honor of her. That's my mother. I'm super. I'm. Yes, this has been a real tough time. With dealing with that whole losing my mother. But you all have been praying for me. All of my Facebook friends and all of my social media people. Y'all have been praying for me, and I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. And honestly, I've been strengthened by your prayers. And so I'm grateful that my mom. I had 49 years with my mom, and we never would have thought that she would be leaving us like she did. But she has left. I mean, well, she's transitioned. So with that being said, like I said, I want to thank you all for your prayers, and I really do appreciate you. So let me see what's going on. We're not able to get our guest. I don't know what's going on with Pastor Long. It's saying his device is not connected, so we're trying to get him in here, and then we can get this thing going. But there's some directions in that email that I sent you, Doc. If you hear me right now, so if you can try to get in here, we would love to have you and have you contribute to the conversation. I know that Ashley will be on, like I said, momentarily, and then of course I always have you all. Who's in the chat tonight? Y'all say hello. Don't come in and just be rude. Say hi. Let me know where you're listening from, and we're gonna get this thing started uh, in just 1 second. But I'm trying to send this out to some people. But y'all in the chat, like I said, we're gonna get this thing started. Let's see if we got Ashley in here now. Ashley, are you there now?
Can you hear me?
You can.
Yeah, I was unmuted, but it wouldn't unmute.
Wait, it actually had you in there twice.
Oh,
Well,
it
you
was
logged.
echoing bad too.
Yeah, maybe you would. I think it looked like you were logged in on two devices. Hey,
Okay.
Patricia. Hey, Patricia. How are you? Who else is in the chat? What's going on? Who's there? Pastor Scottie is having trouble getting in. It keeps saying devices not connected. So I don't know what he's doing or what I can tell him to do to get him in. But as soon as he can jump in, hey, Kimberly. What's up, Kimberly Gillison? Turn big sis. What's going on, Aunt Valerie? Listen, I ain't gonna lie. I struggled with doing the show. I had to cancel my show Tuesday night, but I really had a big show scheduled. But I was so shocked when I got the news that my mom passed, and then how she passed, and then I had to, and then that, and y'all, honestly, when that happened, you know, I asked people not to call me, and I really went into worship mode. I really did. I went into a straight, because I had to understand why. I know sometimes they say don't question God and all that kind of stuff, but I had to question him. I had to understand that. And the more I talked to him, and he gave me a peace, and you all prayed. And then the thing that I remember more than anything, Ash, is that my mama was saved. You know what I'm saying? My mom,
Yeah.
and that's a whole salvation piece. That means you're saved, right? And so that means you're saved from the penalty of sin, right? And so I, knowing that, and then thinking about what she told me prior to going into the hospital, she said, "I hope they keep me a day or two extra because I need to rest." And
Mm.
when you start looking up that word rest in its original etymology, it means that when I wake up, I'm not in the same place I was when I went to bed. And so I believe she's resting. I believe she's resting. I believe God. And I ain't gonna lie. I believe when Death Angel came to pick my mama up, I bet you she put up a fight. She was like, "No, not yet. I got some grandbabies I got to take care of. I got some children I want to see do a little better, and all of that. So it's been a struggle. It really has, but at the same time, I've really had an unexplainable piece, but it's not unexplainable to me because I know what I know, because I could question the doctors, I could question the hospital, I could question, the procedures and all those things. But one thing I cannot question is the predestination of God. And I think that with all of us, we all have a time where it's appointed unto man once to die, and then comes the judgment. And the only one that knows is God, and the only one that allows it to happen is God. So I'm cool with it. I've been tasked with the responsibility of eulogizing my mother, so I'm gonna have to do that on Saturday. So I'm gonna need you all to, those that have been praying so far, I'm gonna need you to keep praying. Help me get through this week. Help me get through this week, and then we're gonna be okay. I hope Scottie figures this out. Come on, Scottie, man. Technical difficulties. Figure it out, bro. Figure it out. Figure it out. I want you to get in on this conversation. But Ashley, how was your day?
My day was a typical Monday. I'm super tired because I lost an hour of sleep, but hey, I'm here in this thing. I'm thankful to be amongst the land of the living.
Yeah, well, it's the land of the dying on our way yet to the land of the living. I guess how you
Yeah.
look at it, huh? I
Yes,
guess that's what you kind
I don't have no complaints.
of
Some
ain't got
some
no
can't say
complaint.
the same.
I feel you. I feel you. Well, listen, I wanted to jump on this topic tonight. We were supposed to do it last week, but we ended up getting caught up talking about that boy ain't your man, and we got stuck on that conversation. We got stuck. Well, Ashley named the show after the show, so we had to go back and change it. We had to really go back and change it. But I'm super appreciative for all the things that Ashley does. So we're gonna talk tonight about communication between men and women. Communication between men and women. Hear this. I wanted to pose this question tonight. The reason why is because I wanted to see if it's even possible. I wanted to see if there is a way that men and women, specifically those of color, can get in sync and get on the same frequency. Because if it were that easy, more people would be doing it, and divorces would be on the decline, and perhaps marriages would be on the rise again. Instead, we're stuck in this state that leaves us pointing the finger, in my opinion, at one another instead of embracing each other's differences and not viewing them as deficiencies when we could use them as points of development in the relationship. So, what is the problem? And the question here tonight is, can we talk? Ashley, what do you think some of the problems are? Why is it that men and women can't talk? And let's try to be as play the middle as much as we can before we go into our own, little. But no, answer it how you want to answer. I'm sorry, answer the question.
It's okay. It's okay. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, to leave it open and broad. I guess I would answer that question with a question: do we want to really be in sync with one another, or do we like the way it is?
It,
I think really it's. I think society has played uh, a big part in the reason why there's a discord or disconnect in the communication.
in what way?
Um, Say it again.
In what way do you? I mean, I like that answer. Hold on, and before you answer that question, those are in the chat. First of all, share this thread for me. Share this post, and then second of all, the question is, why do you all think that it's so difficult for men and women to communicate with each other? All right, but go ahead and keep answering, Ashley. Why do you think it is that society? What do you think society does to keep
I
that mess
think
up?
what society does sometimes is play us against each other. It can go so far as and I know we're not talking black and white,
But we
but
really,
there
we,
are
we,
a lot.
we really are. We really are to an extent. But it's kind of we really are. But go ahead.
Right.
I just ain't
Um,
advertising it.
a lot of things that happen in our community, in essence, turns us against. And I hate to use that term, but it turns us against each other. Whether it be parenting, whether it be the system, um, whether it be um, the way we talk about the way people are raised all the time. I feel like sometimes people are putting it out in the atmosphere that you know I don't want to talk to a woman, or I can't talk to a woman, or same thing with the man. I can't talk to a man, or I don't want to talk to a man. So I think it's a whole busload of things that I feel like society has done to play a part in the breakdown in communication between male and female.
So that's the question, y'all in the chat, all of you all that are listening. So, do y'all think that the breakdown in communication between men and women, specifically those of color, do you think that it's more of a systemic thing? Do you think it's something that's innate? And before you answer that question, I want to. I mean, y'all can go ahead and answer in the chat. But Dr. Veronica Duncan, uh, uh, an assistant professor at the University of Georgia, suggests that the problems with communication between African American men and women are innate. Now, this is what she says. Now like I said, I like to listen. She says when they were in Africa, there was a much greater balance and harmony between males and females, and in many ways, dang, I start speaking in tongues. They complemented each other, and each received accolades in certain area. She said the problem arose when we developed a culture in which there were dominating, controlling men and independent and assertive women. Early on, African American males and women were set in opposition to each other. Does that sound about right? You still there, Ashley?
Say that last part again.
Okay, let me click back to that screen. I
I'm sorry.
said, yeah, it said early on, African American males and females were set in opposition against each other. I mean,
I
go ahead, I'm listening.
no, I was gonna say I definitely agree with that.
Hmm. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. Corey says he says we don't control our images. What do you mean by that, Corey?
I think I understand what he means. He's saying we don't control what we see, the images that society puts in front of us, the TV, what we see on TV, what we see in the
I
newspaper,
was
what we
trying to
see
get
on the
him to
internet.
elaborate. I was
Oh, he
trying to get
will. He will. Hold on. Kevin
him.
Grace. Now here comes Kevin Grace. Kevin Grace said first. There he says the media does. I knew what he was saying. Oh wow. Okay, Ashley. You know what? I messed up and did that mess again. You don't like, didn't I? Hold on. That's too
Uh-huh.
small for you, ain't it?
Uh,
Hold on. Hold on. What I do different? Okay, the theme. That's what I
first
need.
we've
Okay.
learned. Wait a minute. First we've not. Yeah, there we
I'm
go.
trying
Right
to.
there. That's that.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Read
First
it. Read it.
we've not learned that there are different types of communication. Kevin, I agree.
All right. Now
I agree.
Kevin's gonna get deep tonight. I like that. Come on, Kevin. So you
Yeah.
so teach us right quick. What does it mean when you say different? Tell us the different types of communication, Kevin. So I'm gonna put them on the screen. Probably giving him a chance. Give us a different
I
type.
did while Kevin is getting ready to give us some little background. I definitely agree with that. The different types of communication as well as and I may have said this, not even knowing how to even start it. Or be effective communicator.
Yeah.
He's
And and
probably
and so if we start and that's the thing, if we start analyzing and when you start talking about how to communicate, right? Then that's now Kevin just says that. See, Kevin and I are right there in the same age group, so that I like to hear. I hear what he's saying. See, we learn how to communicate from our families, right? We learn how to communicate from our parents, because and sometimes that communication style, as he said, and all the time it's being molded, right? We all have different cultures, and cultures created. Ashley, what you do in your house, I might not necessarily do in my house, right? And so we have two different cultures. So if you got a culture where somebody's always telling that little boy shut up, always saying be quiet. Okay, look like here comes Scottie. Here come Pastor Scott. Here we go. Technical difficulties have come to the room. Come to the room. What's
Thank
going
you,
on,
thank you,
Doc?
Sean. Thank you. Can you hear me? Am I
Yeah.
coming in clear?
Man, you coming in clear. You were
coming
coming in clear,
in.
and you left out. He was broke right back out. All right. And that's right, Kevin Grace. Absolutely. Not realizing that other families have different forms of communication, right? Everybody don't communicate like we communicate. Some families cuss at their kids. You know what I'm saying? Or cuss around their kids. You got other families that'll never cuss around their kids. You got some families that think children should be seen and not heard, right? And so if they think that they should be seen and not heard, then when the child speaks, they cut the child off every time the child begins to speak. And so here these communication styles, they're growing as we grow. Oh, that's good. So as I get older, the way I communicate, it's carried with me, and I end up carrying that communication style into every other relationship that I have. You feel me? You feel what I'm saying, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, think about it. So you got your daughter's 15, right? And what if
Yes.
you went around the house all day long saying, "Girl, shut up. Girl, shut up. Girl, don't nobody want to hear that. Girl, be quiet. Girl, be quiet. Hush. Shut up. We don't want to be quiet." And you do this all the time. Do you think you're affecting that child's ability to communicate?
I think it does. Again, we go back to being able to effectively communicate. They'll either shut down or they'll be them kids in the school that's all they doing is telling everybody to shut up and want to hit and lashing out. So yeah, I definitely I agree with all of that. I was actually thinking about when you was talking about my daughter. Sometimes if I let it, and I'm human, so sometimes I may say a cuss word and she may be like, she looking at me because that's abnormal because I don't
Yeah.
cuss at her. And so
Hmm.
when I do say one, she looking at me like, what's wrong with you? So
Yeah.
um definitely agree with what you're saying on that one. And
Exactly.
Mr. Kevin.
Kevin is a beast at that thing. I, mean, I don't know what Kevin's background is, but I know he's a minister, and we've been knowing each other for several years. So listen, everybody in the chat, do me a favor, share this.
Corey Smith. Sorry.
Share this. Yeah, you don't do me like cussing me, cutting me off. I'm just joking. I hate being.
It's
Uh,
a delay on my end, so
okay,
sorry.
I know. All right, I think we got him this time. Are you
I don't,
there?
hey, but I don't know for how long.
Well,
I don't know for how long.
well,
Man, this
we just happen to have you in the number. We just happy to have you in the number. We just happy to
I'm
have you in the
happy
number.
to be halfway here.
All right, good. Listen, y'all, everybody in the chat, go ahead and share this thread, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this conversation. We've kind of set the foundation. I'm gonna bring Pastor Scottie up to par. But listen, do you all realize that y'all are developing you're as you raise your environment? God, how am I say this? Your environment shapes and molds your communication style.
Yes.
Your environment shapes and molds. That's it. Molds your communication style. So if you are constantly yelling at your children, you're making. And I'm gonna tell you what we do as parents. A lot of times we piss our children off. Excuse me. I ain't at
Yeah.
church. We piss our children off, and we act like we got a license to do it, right? Just because we are grown. And what we end up doing is we produce a generation of children who are angry, like this one little girl, I told her at Walmart. I've told this story before. She had a little 2-3 year old boy, and she's just jerking him around, all this stuff. And I told her to stop doing it. She said, "That's my baby. You don't tell me what to do with my baby." Da da da. I said, "Yeah, but you're gonna raise him to hate everybody that look just like you." And the next woman, when he gets old enough, guess who he gonna take it out on? He gonna take it out on her because he gonna be going upside her head. And that's what the problem is. Pastor Scottie, I was just saying a minute ago that I quoted Dr. Veronica Duncan, assistant professor at a University of Georgia. She says that most of the problems with communication between African American men and women are innate, and the genesis of those problems started in Africa. Well, no, she said in Africa we were in harmony, but when we came to slavery, and then our positions began to change, and then we had other dominating men dominating us, and then now it started to create this rift in our relationships, and it has us in a position where it's hard for us to communicate. Do you think there's a problem, Pastor Scottie, in communication between black men and black women? And I don't really like to say black men and black women, but because we the only generation that does that. White folk don't never say white men and white women. Indian folk don't never say Indian men and Indian women, and Chinese folk don't ever say Chinese folk. You know, white folk. I mean, white folk don't have a whole lot of women. Never mind. Go ahead. Next thing.
We always got to put a label on it. But
Everything. Demystified.
to answer your question, in the world of and I might be going too fast, too far, too quick. I'm going too far, too fast.
Go ahead.
I'm in my mind, I think of we communicate with the black woman these days from the INDEPNDT mindset.
You left an N out, but it's okay.
Well, you know what I mean. from the
shade.
Our
sorry,
women want to be so independent.
Okay.
Till that's how we learn to communicate with them.
Okay.
Because that mindset of independency comes an attitude that shapes their conversation.
Yes, sir.
I mean, even in dating, an independent woman conversation is not a submissive conversation. It's a I really don't need you.
It's changed to that.
I mean, in our society, we preachers, so in scriptures, you would seem like when And even in the olden days, when you look at movies, women were more susceptible of a man approaching them. They, seem like they, that kind of attitude. They were happy that a man approached them and conversated with them. Nowadays, some women, so it's hard to even talk to them.
Hold that thought right quick. My cousin asked a question. She said, James, are you saying we are products of our community and don't have the innate ability to change or learn a different way of communicate? I am not saying that at all. I am 100% not saying that. But I'm saying that if we don't learn another way to communicate, then we're definitely a product of our environment. Does that make sense, cuz? If we don't, because we have to learn to communicate effectively, right? Now, Brother Scottie, Pastor Scottie just said something. You just said something a minute ago, and I want to go deep with this because, and I've talked about this on the show when I talked about, the plot to destroy black families, right? And one thing I've always said, when you really, 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 and I know it's not a educated document, I get it, but it is an idea with this whole Willie Lynch letter, right? And it talked about how they would use, and I'm not pointing the finger at sisters. So don't think I'm because I love y'all. I love every last one of y'all. I mean, I was married to one for 20 years, and I'm gonna marry another one day. I love y'all, so I'm not upset with women. But I want you to understand something right here. What the document said is that they would use the African American N-word. I ain't gonna say it on my show, and they would use her because they knew that she would raise her children in reverse. Because out of fear for her son being emasculated and being killed, she would raise him to be physically strong,
right?
But mentally weak,
right?
But on the converse, she would raise her daughter to be psychologically independent. So the growing process for boys, typically with a mama raising him, and it wasn't even single mamas back then, is he stops the growth process right about 15, 16 years old, while the young lady's still evolving. Well, fast forward to 2022. Now, education-wise, salary-wise, so many things are changing where the social advances have taken place, and we have kind of set on the back. Ashley, you remember when we had the successful singles, I mean? And when they first started, all the women would get mad because the men wouldn't communicate fast enough. They would ask a question in the group, and then check this out, Scottie. They'll put a question up in the group and ask for the men's response. Okay, and the men wouldn't respond. So 10 minutes later, see, they ain't gonna respond. See, they ain't gonna respond.
Well, a lot of time we as men, we thinking it out. We trying to. I'm sorry. A lot of times we trying to register whatever the statement or question was, so we're not gonna be quick to respond. We want to.
But now that's the philosophical part of it. But the practical part about it, Scottie, is most of us driving trucks, working in a factory,
right?
Landscaping. We're not sitting at our desk all day long waiting on Facebook to respond.
Hold
because
on, wait
we're working
a minute.
with our hands.
Wait. Don't be getting on the women like
See,
men.
I think I put a disclaimer out that said I'm not pointing the finger. Did y'all hear me say that?
But I'm gonna give you a hard time. You ain't gonna come in here and get us.
Is that what you call that?
Kirk, they might be scared of the man to respond too fast because he ain't doing nothing but sitting around waiting on text.
You know what, Pastor Scottie. Now I will say he is exactly right in that. And there were a couple of times that I would even say at least give them time to respond. Because whether or not y'all are trying to process it or not, you may just not be ready to respond to it at that moment. It would be just like if you had a mate and your husband or your boyfriend walks in the house, and immediately when he walks in the house, you throwing out everything to him and haven't even given him enough time to even get in the house and process that atmosphere.
And we're gonna talk about that tonight too. Go ahead, Ashley.
Even if you say it again, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. We're gonna talk about that what you just said tonight too. But go ahead.
Yeah. So then, even if you've came in and a lot of times we say a lot of things to you all, it doesn't mean that you're not listening. But in our mind, we're thinking, okay, can he go and fix X, Y, and Z right now? And y'all don't fix X, Y, and Z right now. It may take you 2 weeks to fix it, but in our mind, we want that right now. And so in that, to me, it spills over into the communication portion. If you don't come back and tell me in 2.5 seconds what the answer to the question that I asked you. Now we're impatient, and so I guess that brings about more. Women are a little bit more impatient than men are, so that hinders our communication as well. So I feel like men shut down after a while when we go to nagging a little bit too much about the question.
You ask too many times. Yeah, that's shut down. It's either shut down or argue.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna argue. Jack,
right.
Hey, Scottie, answer this question. She said, okay. Jackie Ream said, "How do you feel the church and religion play a part in communication, especially with men being the head, the voice in all areas of the family and marriage, as we have been conditioned to believe?" Yeah, you answer it, Scott. I'm gonna let you have
that one. Put it back up there. How do you
go.
feel the church and religion play a part in communication, especially? Man, I didn't come here to be deep like that tonight.
That ain't even deep though. That's kind of
coming from me.
Okay.
When we look at this whole church and religion, because you have to look at the number of people that just go to church, but they're not religious.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference. And I have to say that because I'm learning after 7 years of pastoring, what church is for one is not for the other.
Absolutely.
There's a group of people that raise their family is going to church is the right thing to do. They know that. They take their family to church because it's the right thing to do, but they're satisfied with just going to church.
Yeah.
Then you got a group of, and that's how they raise, and that's how their communication is. Church is just something we do, like a hobby. But then let's go deeper. The communication is different for a person that goes to worship. That's a real involved member of ministry. Am I making sense?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those communication skills are going to be a totally different, because the average just church goer, that's shallow communication. Because
but you also but let me ask you this right here though, Doc. But you also got to consider the community that's coming to church now, because the community has changed. You know, it used to be. My daddy woke us up.
Right.
We all had breakfast together and went to church as a family.
Right.
Now you got single mothers that lead. I mean, I'm not gonna say the exact statistic because I don't know, but it's the majority, leading the majority of homes, and it's just mamas bringing the children to church, right? So it doesn't have, you don't have the male. For a lot of single women, the only male voice they hear in their house is their pastor.
Is their pastor, right? Right. You're right. And again, communication is different.
It's different.
For a single woman and what they're learning through their religious belief, they learn to communicate different. Because again, Kurt, our communication is fake, just like our people, you know, we give the church what we want them to have.
Oh yeah, church talk is just church talk.
Yeah, exactly. And even with our kids, our relationships, we give that person what we want them to have at that time. So the communication is different. If I'm trying to get somewhere with somebody, that communication is different once I get them.
Yeah.
If you know, the communication when you out on the chase is different from when you get it.
Oh, absolutely.
So if I'm making sense. So
no, you are. Absolutely. That's what it's Ashley called. Ashley, that's what you call a representative, right? Representative. We ain't gonna get into that right now. We ain't gonna get to that one day.
And we all have a representative.
We all have a representative.
Let me as far as the question that that Jacqueline said, and then the explanation that Pastor Scottie was saying. I do feel like the church plays a different part, but just like he said, church for everyone is different. So if I've grown up in the church, I'm a PK, grew up in the church, I'm going and I see here it says where men being the head, and men not necessarily being the head, the husband is being the head of the house. So my thing, just like somebody mentioned something about single women, if I don't have that person inside of my house, I still ain't learned. Y'all can be preaching all day, every day how to communicate on a certain level, but I can't get that because I don't have that extra person to learn how to communicate that way. If I don't see that inside of the household, then I don't know how to do it anyway.
Absolutely. And that's what I said. For a lot of single women, the only voice that's in their house is their pastor. A male voice that's in their house is their pastor. And that's what causes a lot of the rift in those types. Jackie Raymond, you're absolutely right. When you said I feel that most men are nonverbal. And I can't wait to get into this a little bit deeper in a minute. Let me put this thought up on the three. Dang, it's small. I wish I made the words bigger. It says the sexes communicate differently and women do it better because of the way their brains are wired. The female brain excels in verbal tasks, whereas the male brain is better adapted to visual, spatial, and mathematic tasks. In other words, women like to talk, men prefer action to words. That's true. And that's okay. That's okay, women. Listen, would you marry yourself? So why would you want somebody that's just like you? You know what I'm saying? That's what makes us beautiful as a couple, right? Because we're able to, and that's the part we miss. We don't embrace our differences, right? Scottie, man, if a woman looked just like me, I ain't attracted to her.
Not at all.
Because I ain't attracted to myself. I promise you. I ain't got what I want. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And you know what? I had to learn that after I ain't gonna say after 23 years of marriage, but midway through the 23 years, I had to learn that. I had to learn totally different communication skills.
Okay.
Because I could not communicate.
So do me a favor then, since you didn't put it out there. How did you make mistakes in your communication style in those first 10 years? Versus the last.
I talk to my wife like I would talk to my girlfriend.
Okay.
There's a difference. Again, I got you now, but I have to change. I can't do, and a lot of times we say you got to do what you did to get her. Sometimes that's not true. Once you get her, you got to recreate some things because what you did to get her was to get her. Now you got to do what it takes to keep her. I had to learn that. I was still continuing to live a life of trying to catch something that I already had.
Oh, wow.
I got you now. So now love me. Love me like you have me. Don't love me like you're trying to get me. Love me like you got me. If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Listen, everybody in here right now that's listening to this thread, first of all, I need you to like the post. And then second of all, I need you to share it. And if you don't want to share it, tag 5 people. Put their name right there in the chat and let's tag them and let's get this conversation going, because we're gonna break down some communication, right? Some of the barriers of communication between men and women. I got Pastor Scottie on tonight. I got Ashley on. I really wish I had Lady K, but Lady K had something she had to take care of, but she's with us in spirit. But listen, and y'all in the chat, if you have questions, if you have scenarios, this is a safe space. Share your information in this information. And listen, and if you see somebody sharing something in here, don't take it outside of here. What goes on the stew stays on the stew, okay? Don't be out here telling all our business. I tell my business enough, so I ain't shame. I promise, I'm just as transparent as they come. But thanks, Scottie, for that.
You and me both.
Yeah. All right, Deidre Martin Jones says, do what it takes to keep her. It's different from what you did to get her. I think that's what she meant to say. Oh, she's just she was quoting you. But yeah,
it'll be just like your vehicle. When you go and get your car, you do all of the things to prep yourself up to be able to go and get approved for that car. And as the years go on, you make sure you keep up the maintenance on it. You get your oil change, tires clean. Heck, you might even go get you a new paint job and get a little scratch on it.
She said, "Get your tires cleaned."
Yeah, you said what now?
Nothing. I'm making fun of you.
You know what?
She said you got your tires cleaned. She said you got your tires cleaned.
Yeah, you get your tires cleaned.
It's an E and a D on there. There ain't no T at the end of that. She said cleaned.
And so you do those things because, and people will tell you, if you take care of your vehicle, it will last a long time.
It will. But this is the thing. Now listen to what Scottie said. Don't just listen to the surface. Listen, unpack it, right? Because he said he didn't learn this until 10, 11 years into a marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But see, most of y'all abort the mission 3, 4 years in, 6 months in, 2 years. You have to learn how to be married. That's why 20 years later, even though my wife and I are my ex-wife and I are no longer together, we're still the best of friends. We just couldn't live together. You know what I mean? Because it takes 20 years to get to know. If you there 20 years and hating somebody and all that kind of stuff, but 10 years in, I was talking to a couple one time. They white couple. They had been married for 52 years, Scottie. Now, we asked them, what did it do? What did how did y'all make it? What did it take? You know what they said?
What's that?
We never wanted a divorce at the same time.
And you know what? That's real.
Man, that's real. We never wanted a divorce at the because that means somebody wanted it one day, but the other person didn't want it that day. Somebody thought it was worth fighting for. But like I always say on this show, whenever we feel pain,
my wife back there with the thumbs up. She walking through with the thumbs up.
Good. But that's like I always say on this show. Whenever we feel pain, rather than go through the process of healing, most of us would prefer to amputate. We'd rather walk around with a limp or with an artificial limb instead of going through the process of healing, going through the process of rehabilitation or whatever it takes. We have to get stronger and build strong. Now, there are instances where you just got to go, but most of it starts with communication. Thank you for your transparency, Pastor Scottie, because he admitted, I'll admit, I didn't know how to communicate.
Right.
I thought I could talk. I could preach. You know, Scott, I've been preaching for how long? 26 years. I can preach.
Right. Now, one of the best lessons I learned in marriage, because I never cuss no woman out or call out their name, but I got a way to talk to make somebody feel some type of way. But my wife, one of the biggest lessons she ever taught me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. She said, you got to learn how to frame what you say. And once I learned that, I'm talking like ass now, learned. But once I learned that, once I learned that, things got a whole lot better, man. Things got better once we learned how to communicate with one another. Had to stop. And then I got to be spiritual. I had to learn who I was arguing with. A lot of times we're fighting the devil using that person.
Wow.
It's a spiritual thing because the enemy don't want us together. So the energy that we're exerting towards that person should be at the devil.
Wow. Okay. Wrestle not against flesh. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. That's what you're saying?
Spiritual wickedness. I mean, I can't be that mad at you. It has to be something I'm allowing to get into my mind to allow me to get this mad. My feelings are not that hurt.
Wow. That's good. That's good.
One of the things that you said, Pastor. No,
go ahead.
One of the things that you said, Pastor Scottie, was that once your wife told you, you kind of change things. A lot of people don't even take that constructive criticism because your wife love you enough to even tell you that, because she could have, just like James said, people give up. If you go to talking to folks crazy too many times, we don't want to deal with not a thing. But you took that constructive criticism and did something different. So a lot of people don't do that.
And don't leave out the part you just said, though. You said the criticism was constructive.
Oh, yes.
That's the problem. A lot of times our criticism is not constructive criticism. Okay? There's a difference in constructive criticism. Because like I told you before, and I'm coming right back to you, Scottie. The thing is that like I told you, and like Corey has said, and like Nicholas has said before, it's a way sometimes that women can talk to you, especially when you try to mother somebody, you know what I'm saying, and talk to them like they're your child, that kind of thing, right? So when you do that at that point, I ain't listening no more.
Right.
I have totally shut down. So I admire Lady Long for seeing a problem, and rather than letting it fester, she said, no, you're going to talk to me. Am I calling that right, Doc?
Right. Listen, it's a sad person that a dog is biting you and you don't holler for the dog to stop.
Wow.
And that's the problem. If you hurting, say you're hurting. If that hurts, say ouch, that hurts. Please don't do that anymore.
Wow. Let's read here what Jackie said. It's Ashley, I want you to read it.
Hold on just a second. I'm gonna put it up on my computer. Hold on.
Okay, cool.
Because I can't really see. I taught communication skills for years, but never used any of my own teachings on myself. I failed at communication within my own marriage, mostly because of learned behavior. My husband, my husband was very nonverbal. I'm a Jackson female, and we are very verbal. We are still married legally after 30 years. We communicate well now, mainly because I'm in Arkansas and he is in California. As I have grown where I am open to listen and not just talk. That's good, Miss Jack.
That's real good. That's real cousin right there.
That's real good. And that's key. When you can listen and not just talk, that's another thing I had to learn. Cause I feel I credit myself as being a good arguer. I'm a great debater.
You're a pastor.
Yeah, I'm a great debater.
You're a preacher. You're a pastor, so you got to be able to talk. And we used to talk. We used to lead the conversation.
And I'm listening at you, but not to you.
Absolutely, because you're listening to respond.
I'm listening to respond. I'm hearing just enough so I can give me a good comeback.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
That good one-liner.
Because a good one-liner shuts all down.
Yeah.
And I'm the master of good one-liner.
But you know what I did with my one-liners? I made my wife shut down.
And that's what it does.
I kept shutting down the conversation so long over all the years that once I kept shutting it down, I made her shut down. And that's what we do a lot of times in relationships and in communication. We make the other person shut down.
We make them feel like you're not a better communicator than me.
Oh,
you can't hang with me. You can't hang with me in this.
I need to give Scipio an offer now for that. Scipio just said everybody can't have the last word.
That's right. That's right.
Everybody cannot have the last word.
That's right. That's a good one, Sip.
That's good, dog. Hey, send me your cash app. I'm going to send you $2.50. That is a good one right there. Everybody can't have the last one. I told y'all a couple weeks ago, Ashley, when I said when my ex and I communicated the best, we communicated the best when we used to do these things called 3 a.m. conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be sitting in the bed at 3 a.m. and it was pitch black in the room and we couldn't see each other at all. But we would have the deepest conversations at 3 a.m.
Pillow talk is what it's called.
That's real pillow talk.
Yeah.
That's real pillow talk.
But guess what? It was about that 9 or 10 year mark, like you said, though. It was about that 9 or 10 year mark. Listen, folks, you learn to be married. You cannot be 20 years married in 6 months. Boy, I think amen, lights. You cannot be married 20 years in 6 months. You look at somebody else's marriage and think, and you want what they got, but before you can have the glory, baby, you got to live the story.
Got to.
And that's the part we miss. My cousin just said it right there. Is that why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth? Because we need to listen more and talk less. And now watch this. Let me say this now. I'm going to drop this one out here, and y'all tell me what you think, right? Because, see, marriage used to be 2 becomes 1. That's kind of changed a little bit now. You got these individuals now. But it used to be a time when marriages 2 became 1. So we don't have 4 ears. We really still only have 2 ears.
Right.
We don't have 2 mouths. We still only have 1 mouth, right? So if there's a balance, because women do talk more than men, and that's okay. That's okay, because it's not the quantity of what you say sometimes, it's the quality of what you say.
Right.
It's saying something with an impact. You know what I'm saying? Right. If I'm gonna say something, I want to say something that's impactful. Because I always use the analogy that I got asthma, so I don't waste my breath. So when I talk, I try to let my words be intentional. What you think, Scott?
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that, because again, time is valuable.
Okay.
So communication should be just as valuable. Don't waste time on false communication. If I'm making sense. No, why be deceptive in your communication when you got to come back and clean it up and waste more time cleaning it up? where you could just be straightforward out the door.
That's good.
A lot of marriage,
Well,
like you
nobody-
say, coming into new marriages, communicate. Tell your to-be spouse what you like and what you don't like.
Absolutely.
Don't get halfway down the river and want to change the stroke. We got one going. If you got to let me know this at the beginning. Now I got to figure out if I can meet the need of what you talk about. Now at the beginning, if you had told me this, I would have told you, you know what? I can't do it. But I'm willing to learn if you're willing to teach. At the beginning.
Well, I think that's where people have these false senses of I won't say anything because that may buck the system, and then he or she may not marry me then. So I just wait till we marry. Then you know how people feel like they'll change after marriage. So I think that's kind of what
get it out there, out the door. And I believe that Brother Kirkland, Pastor Kirkland can attest to this. Get it out in the beginning. So it won't come back up 20 years down the line.
You do.
Yeah, this for young people that want women that want to be married, that think they want this life, men that think you want this life. This not for the faint at heart.
All right, you know what? I'm finna flip the script a little bit. All right.
Oh gosh.
Because we know we've already established that mostly females single mothers are heading households now. That's already been established. We've seen the effects of privatized prisons. We know what the system is doing to divide the family. We know with child support, we know welfare, we know all that. We've talked about all of those things, right? But now we've been dealt this hand. This is the hand we have now, right? And the hand that we have now, the reality suggests that more people are getting divorced quicker than they are getting married, right? Yeah. And most households are never. So I asked this question last week, and I'm gonna ask it again. Since most houses are led by people who aren't married, who've never been married, most of which won't ever be married, are they in a position to teach their children how to be husbands and wives?
To be honest, no.
How? You said they've never been married?
Even if they've been married or not, I'm saying not married. Some have never been married. Some never will be married. You know, because proportion-wise, there are 3 million more black women than there are men. So it just ain't. That means 3 million y'all, unless we go to polygamy, y'all ain't gonna get married, right? Even some of us aren't gonna get married. So if mostly single women or single fathers are raising home, and these people aren't married, are they raising their children to eventually get married? And if they don't, if you're not raising them to get married, what does that do to the ecosystem? What does that do to parents, eventually populate? Well, we having babies regardless. That don't matter. But you see the imbalance that takes place. Think about that.
Kirkland, the mama single, the grandmama single, the godmama single, auntie single. Where does she learn to be a wife?
She don't. And she's teaching her, you don't take that from no man.
Exactly.
Listen, the communication is skewed.
Very
when
skewed.
I come in with a chip on my shoulder.
It's very skewed.
I feel that if they have been married, then yes, they can. No, they can't, based upon just what Pastor Long said. But yes, if you have been married, that just doesn't mean that what happened in the marriage was because you didn't know how to be a husband or a wife.
I get it, but the majority of people aren't married.
Yes, sir. I get that part.
Yeah, and so when you look at the balance scale, that's the problem for me. I mean, I get it. Those that have been married and are raising children, yeah, you can raise them to be a husband or to be a wife, but that was the culture that was created. We were enculturated to get married. I mean, a sign of success for marriage back then was having the house, the picket fence, 2.5 kids, 2-car garage, and a dog. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't doing that no more.
See, but hold on, Kurt. That's the TV version.
Yeah,
that's the TV version. Now,
exactly. It was an unrealistic expectation.
Marriage now it's changed because marriage in the age group that we came up in the era that we're hearing about. Granddaddy had outside kids. He was married to Big Mama, but he had outside. This is the example that we heard at our age.
Yeah.
Now, the younger people, what is the example that they're hearing?
Right. I don't know
Now,
what these kids
like
hearing.
Corey said, the weddings are beautiful, but the marriage is difficult. So
Yes.
now we see nice weddings, but breaking up down the line.
Well, that's all they want is that the wedding.
That
Nobody
wedding.
want to really work.
They want that wedding. Once that wedding over with, oh, it's like when the blunt gone. What we gonna do next?
Man, I'm gonna tell you something.
But
I don't.
it goes back to. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I say, and James, I always say this or have said this, and Pastor Long just kind of confirmed on the things that we are being that we see or that we're being taught. A lot of us are not. People are not being transparent on marriage. And I'll continue to say this until I'm blue in the face whenever we have conversations where it can come up. People that have been married for 40, 50, 60 years, they're not super transparent. Not all of them. They're not super transparent about all the trials and the tribulations that they went through and how they had stick and stay. People don't have the stick and stay now. They, and I feel like if people would be transparent like that, then we would be more apt to wanting to stay in something and work it out. We'll stay on our jobs and deal with all of that crap up in there, but we'll be ready to leave our marriage. Or we'll even stay in a long-term relationship with a man or a woman and never get married. But as soon as we get married, we'll want to leave that. Like I don't understand that part.
Right. And that's why I'm one that teaches my church. I've been married. We just celebrated 23 years last year. My testimony is we've been married 23 years, and at this point, three separations. Two out of the house, one in the house.
Wow.
And I teach that, and I be transparent to let them know, yeah, we didn't have problems. Out of 23 years, yes, we've had problems. So I let them know that you may have problems, but the question is, how will you handle your problem?
But I think you can say that we have problems, and that be enough. I don't think you have to. You don't have to air out all your dirty. You know what I'm saying? Because I hear you Ashley saying that people don't talk about their problem. Who does? We're taught not to talk about what goes on. No,
I'm not saying go into. He was out there with Sally Sue and Mary.
Yeah. But because we're taught to. What go on in the house, stay in the house type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But those things are the things that build our relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's we were talking about it. In order to get a pretty lawn, you got to sometimes you got to put some fertilizer on it, right? And what is fertilizer made out of? The 4-letter word. Yeah. I was thinking of another 4-letter word, but mess works too. Mess works too. But with that being said, life that we go through, that one works too. The stuff that we go through in life, the crap, the mess, the other one, all those things are the fertilizer to help out. And the strength sometimes is being able to go out in public knowing something's going on at home.
Right.
That's a strength. You know what I'm saying? That's a strength. Because we're so, our society is so glamorous now that it wants to highlight every area of mistake. Every time we mess up, I got to get him right now. Man, you grow together. And sometimes in that growth, you have growing pains. The thing is to figure out how to manage the pain. And that's the problem a lot of us don't do, is we don't ever figure out how to manage the pain. Jackie Ray Rings, my cousin, she's talking good tonight. She said, being transparent is an important form of communication. We are not a victim of our environment. I love that. We could be excellent parents, wives, and mates without being a mirror or reflection of our mothers. That's true. Grandmothers or others. Absolutely. Because typically our lives are a direct effect of how we were raised. We either respond to, react, repel, so we reject, but whatever it is, we kind of figure those things out. Oh wow, Corey Crustus has got a good point. He said, traveling to some cities, you pass by signs that say divorces are only $99. Wow. Because they know the power that exist when black families, I'm gonna say it, are united. We are the strongest force ever, but we are always dividing ourselves. We're steadily deepening the divide. I'll be so happy when we start doing things collectively and stop doing things so individually now, because everything is individual. It's so individual. And I think when you do these things, now I'm gonna be honest, Scottie. I believe one of the worst mistakes the Boys and Girls Club made was when they made the Boys and Girls Club together. I think it was good as just the Boys Club because they were learning how to be boys, right? What we do at the Boys Club, we fought together, played ball together, swam together, all these things, and we got a competitive edge. But when the girls came in there, now little boys playing with dolls.
See, that was just going to say, you opened up a whole nother can right there. That's a whole nother subject. That's
but it breaks into because I'm gonna tell you what, little boy gonna communicate differently if he know a girl in the room.
Right.
He gonna talk totally different if he knows it's a little girl in the room. Because why? We don't want to be embarrassed. Check this out, women. Some of us, I'm not included in that number, but some of us are not that good at communicating.
Right.
Y'all ever see some of these people write on Facebook?
That's just for Facebook. They just doing that for Facebook.
No.
That's them in real life.
No.
Yeah, I'm learning. That's them in real life.
No. I'm joking. Be writing in tongues, and I be trying to figure it out. I be like, proofread. You know, but some you said you're guilty. Well, you stupid. But some people just don't have, especially men, don't have as good communication skills. And guess what? That's okay. That's okay. Look, let's jump into this because I don't want to be on but about another 20, 30 minutes. Then we get out of here if it's okay with you, Pastor Scottie.
That's right. But, that's fine.
All right, cool. This is David Burris. I like to read some of his blogs. Brothers and sisters, if y'all don't follow his blogs, you really should. This is what he said. Wives and future wives. For men, talking and timing go hand in hand. You paying attention, Ashley?
My God.
You paying attention, Ashley?
I'm listening. This is a time for me to listen. I'm listening.
Okay, good. You got hoop triggers. I'm finna tune up right quick. I'm about to hoop when she said that. All right. It said for men, talking and timing. And this is for the sisters. I want y'all to pay attention to this. This is for your sisters. This is for the sisters. He put this thought out there and I love it. He said women use an average of 20,000 words a day compared to the mere 7,000 that men utter per day. By the time he's walked through the door after a long day, this is talking about marriage, y'all, at work, he's out of meaningful conversation for the day. It's not that he doesn't have a desire to talk or even to connect. He simply lacks the bandwidth to have deep, meaningful conversations at the end of the day. Here's the workaround. There are a few things that will give you a better outcome should you need to discuss something pressing. Now, you might not agree with all this. That's okay. But this is just something for us to consider, okay? He's saying this is what women could do if they wanted to have more meaningful conversation with their men. He says, number one, let him know earlier in the day that you have something pressing. Listen what I said, pressing. Something pressing that you'd like to discuss later. Number two, give him a brief summary of what you'd like to discuss later so that he is more emotionally prepared. You say what now?
Hold on, stop right there. Stop. I gotta stop you. I gotta stop.
Okay.
Number one says let him know early in the day. Mm-hmm. Then number two said, what woman know how to give a brief summary of whatever they want?
He's making a suggestion. He's making a suggestion.
Well, you know what? Y'all gonna ask whenever we say, hey, babe, I need to talk to you about something later. You gonna come back and say, well, what is it?
Kurt, because I might not even come home that evening because I'm scared to face the conversation that there's going to be talked about.
Hey, but you know what, man? Hey, but at least you prepared for it, though, right? You know what's gonna happen. I remember my mama said she's gonna whoop me when I got home. Boy, I remember my mama tell me she's gonna whoop me. She's gonna whoop me when she got home. Boy, I put on 2-3 pairs of underwear, put on a pair of shorts, put on a pair of pants, and I could absorb that whooping, right? So if she tells me we need to talk about, and yes, Deidre, I am the grammar police. I don't even mean to be. It just happened that way. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do better. I promise you, I'm gonna try to do better. But anyway, let's go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Be yourself. Here it is. Number three.
Hey, Lady K. She's
Lady
in the
K
comments.
Hey, Lady K. You know you can pop in whenever you want to. But lady, number 3 says, give him a few minutes. This is a good one. Give him a few minutes to unwind when he walks through the door before jumping right into said conversation. Number 4, be as direct as you possibly can with what it is that you'd like to discuss or ask. Always remember that just because, now this is funny. Always remember that just because you still have 13,000 words to exhaust in conversation, don't mean that he does. Be considerate.
To the point.
Get to the point. All right. So, what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? I missed some. Did y'all see them? Everybody saw them. I'm gonna give them one more time, then I'm done, and then we're gonna discuss them. This is the workaround. This is the workaround. Let him know earlier in the day that you have something you want to discuss. Number 2, give him a brief summary of what you'd like to discuss later. Because we're trying to have effective communication. Number 3, give him a few minutes to unwind when he walks through the door. And number 4, be as direct as possible. Go ahead, Ashley. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that goes back to what I was saying earlier about we be running in there with all our stuff. As soon as the man walk in the door, he barely could put his bag down real quick. So definitely want to give time to unwind, because we have our decompression moments, but they very seldom do. Or you all. Sorry.
Hold on. Let's Nadlin just said, so if something comes up during the day that becomes pressing, is he not supposed to be able to talk at that time? That's case by case. But if he's at work, a lot of times a lot of men don't work jobs that they're able to talk on the phone during the day, especially to have a pressing conversation. But if somebody's death in the family or something like that, or if it's an emergency, I'm sure that he can talk. And this is not law. These are just suggestions. These are just suggestions. That's all we're doing. Everybody, please, that's in the chat. I appreciate y'all. We're having a good conversation so far tonight. And I'm gonna try to cut it off in a few minutes, but a good conversation so far. But everybody, if you would, share this thread for me right quick, or tag 4 or 5 people, and let's get this conversation. But no, Nadlin, if we have to, if something needs to be discussed, we're gonna discuss it. Let's see what Cynthia said. Cynthia said back in the day, Ms. Inez and them had 11 kids, didn't work, and didn't have any choice but to put up with. Oh Lord, I'm scared. I shouldn't have read this. I'm nervous. She got me nervous. Willie Earl's other family across town, other women 2 down. Is that got something to do with communication that we talking about right now? What's the relevance? Help me out.
Finish reading, because
put it on back up there. You started now.
We have more options today, and within the freedom to explore those options came the great falling away.
I see that. I can see that. I can see that. I need to read some of these other comments. I haven't read them yet. Y'all go ahead and talk. Who was up next?
Jackie said, didn't say anything until it was the right time, but that takes time. Use wisdom. Building chemistry and understanding each other is the right time. Yes, Miss Jackie Jones, you are correct. Miss Jacqueline Rings, is that how you pronounce her last name? I don't agree with the assessment at all. Women have equally tiresome days. It clearly shows a difference in communication style. This type of attitude can clearly contribute to the breakdown in marriages.
I can see why you think
that. For me, what I do, because I feel like we go from one job to the next, I do take my little 30 minutes in the car to an hour in the car to decompress before I go back into. And I it may sound crazy to say I'm going into work, but not saying that men don't have the jobs to be a father, but being a mother is a job as well. So
I get it. She says she don't agree with that, and again, everybody, and like I said, I always say truth is not absolute. Truth is very relative. You know what I'm saying? but I don't see what it is to disagree with, because it's true. Women talk more than men. I mean, and we don't like to. And this is the thing, sisters. Let me say this, and I'm not trying to be cynical when I say it. You can't make a grown man talk. And when you try to make him talk sometimes, then it's just all it's going to do is create more and more frustration, right? So all I think Mr. Burris was saying is, and if that's not the 4 points you choose to use, find 3 points, find 2 points, find 1 point, but find the point that gets you to an environment where there can be effective communication. Because I'm gonna be, when I used to come home from work and having to deal with them folk all day long, when I came through the house, I had to decompress. I mean, I might pet the dog, point at the kids, walk upstairs in the closet, change clothes, and then go sit in the backyard for 2 hours and play my play my game on my phone, because that was my way of decompressing. And really, I didn't want to be talked to during that time. Now, if a conversation came, I would have it, but it probably wouldn't be as comprehensive or as deep as you would like, because I'm trying to find this decompression moment right quick. And that's because we're different. That's all it is. But I feel you, Jackie. She said she don't agree with that assessment at all. Nothing about it, Jackie. Let me look and see what's wrong with that. Let me look at that again. Nothing. She said, let him know early in the day. Okay, that might be because she ain't your secretary. Give him a brief summary of what you. Now, I would probably leave that one out. And I would say let him know early in the day that you want to talk. But I'm with Pastor Scottie. You might not need the whole brief summary of what you'd like to discuss. But you can give him a few minutes when he walks through the door before jumping right into the conversation. I don't think that's too bad. And I don't think it's too bad to be as direct as you possibly can when you want to talk about what you want to talk about. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong. Ineffective communication, but I think that's what we're trying to do, how to figure out how to get to effective communication. I think that's what, yeah, that's right. That's why we came up with the man. Somebody came up with the man cave. I'm sorry, y'all go ahead. go ahead. What y'all reading comments too? Scottie,
yep,
y'all read, yeah, that's what y'all doing. Read the comments too.
That's what.
There my girl is. Hey, Faye. Faye said women, and Faye, Dr. Faye, I'm sorry, let me call her by her title. Dr. Faye, we got to get you back on the show. We can start get you contributing some more. But she says women tend to be process-oriented communicators, whereas men to be fix and solve communicators. Absolutely. That is 100% true. And that's okay. That's the thing. I think most of the rifts that we have in our relationships is we want people to think like we think, or to act like we act, or be like they want to be like us. You see my girl, Dr. Faye. That's my homie, my partner. She know what that means. But go ahead. Am I saying? Tell me. What do you think about what Ashley, what Dr. Faye just said about women being process oriented and men being fix and solve communication? So being equipped with that knowledge, how could you become better at fostering an atmosphere of communication?
I think I'm a great communicator. Okay. No, I actually I kind of have already incorporated in my life how to I guess I'm not gonna say be an effective communicator, but not feeling that the communication has to go my way all the time. By recognizing what type of communication skills that the man has, and kind of meeting them halfway, so to speak. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but that's what I do or have done.
What do you think, Scott?
Now repeat that. You said that you have in the past.
No, that ain't what I said.
No, I thought you said that's what I have done. I heard you say
well, that's what I have. Yeah, I've kind of incorporated in my latter year, my present years, I guess I'll say, by trying to make a conscious decision of thinking about how I go forward in communicating, realizing that we do communicate differently, and making sure that I kind of meet them halfway in what works for them and what works for me.
And again, just like I said earlier, you thinking about how you communicate, putting more thought into your communication. And that makes a difference when we put thought into it. A lot of times we communicate without really thinking. We just go off the cuff. And that's what did they say? An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. When you think
what country that's from? I hadn't heard that one. Where you from, Mr. Pastor Scottie?
It might not sound good. It's good preaching.
I didn't say that sound good. I was just saying I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. If I think about how I'm communicating, it's better than coming back later and having to do damage control.
Yes,
because I did not communicate the right way the first time.
Absolutely. And I read an article one time talking about the art of fighting fair, and in the art of fighting fair, sometimes it says in a heated moment, just give yourself 5 minutes.
Got to.
Yeah, I mean, and what you get ready to say right now, say it later. You know, say it in 5 minutes or say it in 10 minutes, and I promise you, the tone changes. And once the tone changes, then you get a whole different result. And that's the key. The key, ladies and gentlemen, I want, and what I'm working towards, and I'm praying for, and that's why I have these types of conversations, right? Is that I'm trying to help us learn how to become more effective in communication, right? Because that's what's key. I mean, because what we say when we was younger, you talk to me, don't talk at me.
At me, right.
And a lot of times in relationships, especially when we get upset and start becoming desensitized and calloused in our relationships, we stop talking to the person and instead we talk at that person, right? And so, and I think, but Ashley, another point you just made, because Scottie was asking you about your communication style. You said you learned. That's because you're older now. You're more mature now. You know what I'm saying? So as you get older and more mature, then sometimes you are a better communicator, or you're more vulnerable. I mean, a lot of stuff I wasn't equipped to communicate. I could talk to people outside better than I could at home, and that was stupid. That's just me being transparent. That's just me being 100% transparent. It was certain things I didn't want my wife to know. I didn't want to show a vulnerability. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to always operate from a position of strength, so I could be more vulnerable with somebody else, in a conversation. Because, but those are things that we learn. Those are things we learn. But if I came home after having a bad day, and she would say, she called me by my middle name. I'm not gonna let y'all know my middle name because it ain't none of y'all business.
Forgot it.
But she would call me, but she would, it ain't none of your business. But she would call me by my middle name. She said, "Come here," and then she say, "What happened? What's wrong?" And that voice, because the Bible says, "Soft answer turns away wrath," right? But that voice would just make me melt, and I'm like, I can tell her the whole story right then.
Hold it all.
Yeah, because she created an atmosphere for me to be vulnerable. I didn't want to show. Scottie, we think about it. When we grew up, if a man was emotional, what do we call him?
Weak.
We called him soft.
Yeah.
He was soft as cotton. I know some people say soft as tissue paper. You know what I'm saying? Because
and now, she said something earlier, but that representative now has to be the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we really are that soft or that weak guy, but that representative that we use to represent us is totally different.
I really hate that y'all did that, because that y'all were calling each other simps and weak and all of that, because it definitely makes it a little bit harder for the female sometimes to be able to kind of get into a place where you all are able to talk. Because there was a guy that I have conversed with before, and he would say different stuff, and he would say, "Oh, I'm sounding weak now." Because you're expressing yourself, it doesn't make you weak. And I feel like y'all,
it was passed down. It's passed down.
It's passed down to generations.
From generations.
But here's the juxtaposition, if you will. Now these same boys that we call soft, guess who raising them? Women. So a lot of them are more in touch with their emotions now. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them, and it's created a whole different paradigm shift. Let me read what Michelle Murphy said. She said,
Hey,
she said we may communicate with someone and automatically assume. I love this. Good word, Michelle. We assume that the person on the receiving end comprehends, and that's not always true. Meet a person where they are and figure out how to move forward from there. Listen, the responsibility of communication falls on the sender.
Right.
If I'm the one that's conveying the message, it's my job to help the person on the receiving end understand what I'm saying, because I'm the one with the message. Does that make sense?
But let me say this. It's hard when that other person is just acting like they're listening. Just to get the conversation over with.
Yeah.
And then you come back, and the same thing that you had told them, they act like they're totally oblivious to it, because at the time when I expressed this to you, you weren't listening to me. You were just saying, okay, yeah, just to get along. That's why both parties have to be good communicators, because communication is listening too.
Yeah,
it's not just
good point. Good point. Good point. Let me
yeah,
put that
communication. Are you a good listener? And again, like we said earlier, a lot of times I wasn't a good listener. I wasn't listening for the true point. I was listening for a place for me to get in and come back.
Get that one line, listen to respond.
One line, exactly. So that's another thing that we fight against. We fight against the fact of whether this person that I'm expressing this to is really listening to me. Because I've been in a place with my wife, and I wish she was in here now, that it'll come back 3 weeks later, something will come up, and I'll be like, so you really weren't listening to me when we were talking. You heard 30% of what I said in our conversation, because if you had heard it all, we wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't have to go back and repeat myself of what I said then, because I was pouring out my heart, but you was just trying to, appease me at the time.
I think Deidre Jones hit the nail on the head with that one, because she said a part of communication effectively is learning what triggers the other person and avoiding it. Because if you know what triggers your partner, then you'll know when they're not really listening. Does that make sense? Right. What I just do with my computer? Yeah,
you actually got they actually got to care enough to learn all of that about you.
You're not saying you're saying your mate. Period. You're not saying gender specific or anything like that, right?
No, not gender specific. No.
Okay.
No, I'm bad.
How Faye, how pretty are you tonight? Are you I know you're always pretty, but do you want to come on for a minute?
Said, how pretty are you?
I'm finna say he throw me off with that. I'm finna say I'm feeling logged out. I mean, he done went left.
No, because I'm going to ask her to come on camera. So if she comes on camera, she might not want to come on camera if she's sitting at home with rollers.
I understand. If she got a bonnet on.
I got a reason, and everything I say, I have a reason for saying it, ma'am.
You just caught me off guard.
That's okay.
Listen,
Faye, I want you to. Faye, if you feel like, Faye, text me if you feel like coming on. If you feel like, I will turn without a blink every now and then, but thankfully I ain't never got a ticket. But let me know if you want to come on right quick, and you can explain the difference between passive listeners, passive aggressive listeners, assertive listeners, the 4 different types of communication styles, which are. You have the passive communication style, aggressive communication style, passive aggressive, and assertive. Passive aggressive, and assertive. So I was just going to see if she wanted to come on. And she's saying that a person, in order to be effective, they need to be a passive listener, not an aggressive listener. Scottie, you and I have both admitted that in our lives, we've both been aggressive and passive aggressive listeners. Yeah. We've both been aggressive and passive aggressive listeners, because we will throw some shade as well. I ain't be lying. So she said she on the treadmill. Okay, so that's cool. But we'll get into
it. To say that we are notorious because we become passive aggressive. It's like a setup. It's like a volleyball setup. We'll let someone come just in enough so you can come back with a spike them. You'll be passive aggressive to hear what they got to say, just so
Hey,
you can come
Jimmy.
back.
The Jimmy Hinton has spoken tonight. Jimmy Hinton said many times, when we don't listen, it isn't a head issue, it's a heart issue. Our heart isn't sensitive to the other person's desires and wants.
That's good.
And to what Jimmy's point, like I said earlier, it used to be a time when the two became one. Now the two ain't. Now we so individual in our thinking and in our positions in our marriage, because we hadn't been prepared for marriage, that our hearts don't commingle. Because when we get married, our hearts should commingle. I mean, I should feel your pain should be my pain, and my pain should be your pain. And so when there's a heart, and at that point, we care enough to learn how you communicate, and we care enough to when you communicate, to make sure we comprehend the way we're supposed to comprehend. So this is real good tonight, y'all. This is super. So the question tonight I asked is, can we talk? I mean, is there a way that we can get? Go ahead. Oh, my bad, I can't dance. But is there a way that we can overcome these innate issues? These, as Scottie said, these oral traditions and behavior patterns that have been passed down through the generations, right? And so, and sisters, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Quiet is kept. Y'all are breaking the trend to some extent when you raise your son, because you're opening up some of the sensitive sides of him that we as daddies just ain't gonna do.
Right.
But the thing is to bring the balance in his life, to get somebody around him that's gonna also develop, for lack of better words, to develop that dog in him. Now, I had to put that dog in my son.
Right.
Terrence, I know with Jeremiah, you had to put that dog in your son. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
I had to make sure it was there.
You had to make sure it was there, because I got a Yorkie. Well, we got a Yorkie, and a Yorkie ain't but about 12, 13 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds, but it bark like it's 200 pounds, right? Because he's a dog, and a dog has a specific nature, and so it's a certain nature that ought to be associated with a boy or with a man, right? A certain nature. But ladies, now that you're raising sons, now you're bringing that balance and teaching him how. I commend some of these sisters that are doing an excellent job with their boys and letting them talk and making sure they put him in positions to be successful. I look at some of these mothers on Facebook, and they're esteeming their sons and letting them talk and putting them in videos and having I would never having these kind of conversations as a little child. These children have personalities, man. I mean, and it's beautiful, and that's because their mothers are bringing those positive qualities out of them. So I think this thing can change, right? I think it can be a flip. I think we can start to communicate. But here's the thing, especially those of us that are in the chat tonight, that are our 40-somethings and our 30-somethings and our 50-somethings, we gotta reconcile, man. We gonna have to, as brothers, apologize to y'all. We gotta apologize, and then we gotta mean it. And then once we mean it, y'all got to give us a little room to grow and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to wipe your, I heard that once before. I'm going to wipe your slate clean. And then let us walk in it. I'm going to give you another chance. I'm going to give you another chance. But you hurt me. I know I hurt you. I get it. Little boy came, little boy, he's 35. He came up here last week. And he was having problems with his girlfriend. He was hot. I mean, he brought all negative energy all in my house, right? I told him, you got to go, But anyway, I said, but when I saw his heart, I had a conversation with him, right? And I started trying to tell him how to talk to her, because he's so aggressive and he's so, he's so tough and so hard. I said, no, calm down. I said, you hear how loud I'm talking to you? I said, talk to her like that. Keep the environment. I said, set the tone, set the environment, and say, listen, first of all, I'm not going to argue in my house. I said, then second of all, say, I'm not going to argue in front of our son. I said, now, I understand I did some things that hurt you, and I want to know what those things are. And we had a whole little conversation and broke him down. Next time he came over, man, they had totally transformed because of the way he communicates. He communicates. A soft answer turneth away wrath. But we're talking at each other as opposed to doing what? Talking to each other.
Let me ask you this, Kirk.
Yes, sir.
Back to the kids and how we teach the kids and the communication that the kids learn. I think back to as a child, or even now, it was a time when little Junju could have girlfriends and it was cute. Oh, Junebug said you got a girlfriend. Julie got a girlfriend. But the same girl that's the age as Junebug can't have no boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This is the energy that we would teach the kids. It's cute for the little boy to have girlfriends, but it's not cute for the little girl. But who June dating at at that age where it's so cute to say, oh, he got a girl and all of that. Am I making sense? So
Oh yeah.
we're teaching an imbalance because the boy can talk to a girl, but in order for a girl to talk at that age, she got to sneak.
Yeah. Yep.
So she's learning her communication from a sneaky perspective where a boy can be out front and say he talking to a girl. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Because man, communication is so many facets and variables to communication, right? We're always, even when we don't open our mouths, and I know you asked if you got to go tonight. I mean, we appreciate you. I know you got some things you got to do for work and all that kind of stuff. I've super appreciated your commentary tonight. And we got Deidre and Sharia and Cynthia and Lady K and everybody. So they're gonna speak up for the women, and we're gonna definitely give them a voice and a platform to speak. So we're not gonna be on here much longer. So if you have to click out, we appreciate you, right?
Yeah, I got a few more minutes, and I'm gonna have to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to get out of here anyway because we've been on for right at an hour and a half. Well, you came on 20 minutes late, so
yeah, I came on late. I came on late.
Due to technical I love it though. I love it. I love it.
Technical difficulties.
Due to technical difficulties. Technical difficulties would do it every time. Where is my laptop? Hold on, y'all. I gotta find my laptop. I didn't mean to do that.
So you working with desktop, laptop, Palm Pilots.
Bro, I do this every week. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? When I did it week one, I'm better now than I was in week one. Trust me.
Yeah.
Deidre Martin Jones said, when it comes to communicating properly, we have to do the work within ourselves. Ego can stunt vital opportunities to solve a problem. You know what I like about this conversation tonight? Is most of us have not pointed the finger at the opposite sex. I think that's really, really good. I think, of course, we all have our personal issues and within a context of our marriages and relationships, and that's just real. But for the most part, even when we've been doing that tonight, we've even we've shown a measure of transparency and seeing ourselves. Because I'll tell you my problems in my marriage, and the reason I tell those problems because I want to help some other young man to keep him from going through what I went through. You know what I'm saying? Or some other young woman to keep them from going through what I've gone through. So I get it, and I appreciate you all for your transparency. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and wind this conversation down tonight because I'm trying to get to the point where we're not on for 2 hours. I want to be between an hour and a half and an hour, and we'll continue to have these conversations. But once again, as I started the conversation tonight, I want to thank you all, for praying for my family, my little brothers and sisters.
I meant to say that when I came on. I'm sorry about that, man.
No, that's okay, man. Yeah, because that it's a total shock that my mom is no longer with us. And so I wanted to dedicate this show to her tonight. I really, like I said, I canceled the show Tuesday, and I thought about canceling tonight, but nah, she wouldn't want me to cancel it, and she would be listening tonight. So I appreciate you all. Scottie, I gotta come home and preach Mama's eulogy.
I was getting ready to ask that. When is all of that?
That is going to be on Saturday in Pine Bluff.
Okay, I was going to say where in Wabasika.
No, it's going to be in Pine Bluff at 10 a.m. Okay. It's going to be at I think it's called New Community Baptist Church. But I'll be posting it before the week is out.
Yeah, let us know.
I'll be posting it. So that's going to be a tough one. So I'll fly in Wednesday night, and I'll be there for about 5 or 6 days. So next week we won't be on Monday because I'll be in the air. I'll be flying back, but we probably will come on Tuesday next week. But that'll just be a one-time thing Tuesday, and then we'll come back to our following Monday. Okay. So y'all keep me in your prayers.
Most
And
definitely.
like I said, and we'll see some of you all in Arkansas on next week. Yeah, I definitely will, Deidre. I'll definitely call you
Before
back.
you close out, James, I did post your Cash App and Zelle and PayPal information in the system. There have been some people, Shantae Boatman was one of them that reached out to me to see if there was some things that we were going to do for you. So if anybody, I've called you and gave you my condolences in the passing of your mother. But if there's anybody that wants to be a blessing to James, he is one that does not like to do this part. But if there's anybody that wants to be a blessing to him, his ministry, the Cash App information is in the chat. If you can't get it from there, you can definitely inbox him and get that information. As he stated, continue to pray for him and his family in the passing of his mother. But definitely, if you want to, do something for him, or if you want to get a shirt, or if you just want to bless the ministry altogether, those cash handles are in the comment as well as scrolling across the screen. I lost my train of thought when I was going into this. Sorry, y'all.
Man,
So,
I said I was gonna go the whole show. I almost made the whole show without crying, and you're gonna make me cry at the end. You right? Don't do me like that. Yeah, don't make me.
well,
Don't get
I'm
me.
sorry. I
And my
love you.
eyes are just watering. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I ain't crying.
They just sweat. Your eyes just sweat.
Yeah, that's the
Just
word.
sweat.
My eyes just sweat.
Yeah.
My eyes just sweat. But nah, Mama's gone, man. That's
Yeah, but we're
that's
praying
tough,
with
bro.
you, man.
That's tough.
And
That's
I
tough.
honor your strength, even in this.
Well, man, that's what everybody's praying for. So don't be
Right.
surprised when your prayers work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Some people
Right.
like, man, it's okay to mourn. Well, I mean, but I'm strong. But
Right.
because your prayers are working, and be happy that your prayers are working. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, my mama was saved, man.
Right.
My
Right.
mama's life. Listen, my mama's life had transformed 180 degrees. You know what I'm saying? The woman she became at 66, man, compared to who she was at 26 and 36 and things, man, she was saved, man. Jackie Reams was on here. She'll tell you, man, everybody knew my mom. All she talked about was God, and all she did was sing, praises and be in
I
choirs.
was at my mom's house yesterday, and she was talking about your mom and your uncles. That
Oh, she
Jefferson
knew
County.
she did know my. Yeah. She
Tucker.
did.
Tucker
Yeah, I
Uncle
forget.
song, Doc.
Yeah, man. So
Up here.
my mom was, she say, and at the end of the day, whoosha, my mama told me before she went into the hospital, and Scottie, you wasn't on here to hear this a minute ago, but she said, I hope they keep me a couple of extra days. I said, why? She said, because I need some rest.
Wow.
And we know that those die in the Lord, they die in the Lord. They don't die, but they just sleep, right? And so she sleep. And the only difference is this type of rest. When Paul talked about that rest and that with that Greek etymology back in the Thessalonians, he said the only thing about that rest is when you wake up, you've changed locations.
Right.
But Mama ain't here no more.
Ashley, I'm gonna get old fashioned again. Mama's rested in the bosom of the Lord.
In the bosom of the Lord, Jack. In the bosom of the Lord. So, man, that's why, you know what, man, I wrestled with it for a moment, but then all of a sudden I thought about that whole theology of predestination, right?
Yes,
and when God punches your clock, what you gonna do?
You can't call in.
And that's what we're living for. We're living to live again, man. We're living. You know what I mean? This is not a church show, but I'm a preacher. You know what I mean? That's and so the conversations we're having, I'm trying to. This is the practical part of ministry, right? You know what I'm saying? I can go find a scripture for everything that we talk about, but this is the sermon. We talk about sermon preached, but then a sermon lived. We try and tell you how to live it, right?
That's right.
That's all
right.
I want to do.
That's right.
That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. So, thank you, Ashley, for that plug. I mean, if you all do want to be a blessing, I mean, it would be much appreciated, and I would definitely appreciate it. Because everybody asks, what can I do? And I'll be like, I don't know, but if that's what you want to do. Please, ma'am, please, sir. Feel so compelled.
Let you buy your own chicken. You don't need to buy no chicken.
No chicken, no green beans, none of that.
No, you don't need none.
I got some chicken. I got some chicken in there right now, but it's baked. So I'm gonna go ahead and
soda water. Let you buy your own.
May the Lord watch. No, I'm just joking.
Right.
I'm just joking. Yeah. Scottie, go ahead and pray us out, man.
Thank you guys for having me. I hope that I brought something to this platform. I'm just, glad to be in the service one more time. But y'all be blessed. God, we love you. We thank you for who you are in our lives, God. We thank you for Pastor Kirkland, God. We thank you for this vision that you have given him. And God, we thank you that you are allowing us to see the vision come to pass, God. So we thank you for this night, God. We thank you that you have opened our minds to better communications with spouses, with family, with children, with people, period, God. Allow us to be able to communicate the way that we want to be communicated to. God, again, my prayer has been these last few weeks, teach me how to forgive. God, teach us how to forgive. And I declare, don't forgive me till I forgive that one I haven't forgiven. Be with Brother Kirkland, God. Continue to bless his family. Be with Sister Ashley. Continue to bless her family. And God, until we meet again, we love you. It's in your son, Jesus' name. The saints of God said together, amen.
Amen. Hey, y'all, guess what? Guess what? The world is changing. Why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.